Welcome to From a Southside Point of View. We're doing the Mandalorian Chapter 20, The Foundling. Great episode. I really enjoyed it. There was some, Josh, when I think Star Wars, I think massive dinosaurs. And so that's what we got. But before we get into the episode, I've got a few questions that came to mind while I was watching the show. They're not totally Star Wars related, but I wanted to ask you as I'm watching the show, and let me know what you think about these. So, to everybody in the comments, I did not tell Josh what these questions were in advance, so this will get his natural reaction to them. And the first is this what people think Chicago is like? People from not from Chicago. Do they think that there's giant dinosaur things eating each other on a daily basis? Is this the kind of vision that they have of what it is to walk the streets of Chicago?
Oh, it's so violent. You can't walk down without getting eaten by a dinosaur. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great homage to Jurassic Park, especially that scene, right? It was kind of like the reboot, right, with Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt, where the girl gets abducted and then everyone dies. The dinosaur, because the big alligator or whatever, comes out of the water and eats them all. Kind of something similar here.
I love it. It what a scene, right? I mean, you're like, yeah, that thing's gonna get out of the water. Oh, that thing is not gonna get out of the water.
Nope.
Yeah, you're like, it could get that. It could get those ropes off, man. I'm sure it could get. And then it's like being chewed up. And you're like, oh, okay, then it's probably not gonna survive that. I did like this though. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I think a lot of people watch this episode and they're like, why are they living there? This seems like a terrible place to live. But the armorer does kind of allude to it when she's talking to Grogu. And she's talking about the Forge, but the Forge she's really expressing is the larger world, and these are the trials of adversity that they need to go through, right? So I kind of like that they live there because unlike Din, they're not going out and having adventures and shit. So how are they going to get to be better soldiers? Well, I guess it's to fight giant dinosaurs. That is the best way that they have. They also do some other stuff on this planet that we found out. Oh, go ahead, Josh.
I was going to say, or fight each other. I mean, that was a great training scene. And, shout out to the director of this episode, Carl Weathers. Shocking that he has a training scene in the episode that he is directing. On the beach.
If they would have gotten to little shorts and hugged, it would have been pure Carl Weathers.
I would have loved that.
But yeah, I mean, so they're training on that beach. They're fighting dinosaurs. One other thing that we found out that they're doing, because Ragnar is not truly a foundling, he is actually Paz Vizsla's son. And it brings me to my next question, Josh. Do Mandos wear their helmets while they bone? Now, you're not supposed to take that helmet off in front of anybody. So are they just getting down to their skivvies, but the helmet's still on?
Wouldn't you?
I mean,
is that the preferred way?
I don't know how else they could, right? But they definitely do, because there's a sun now. There's there's definitely boning going on this dinosaur planet, and it has produced Ragnar, who is honestly he's pretty terrible at everything. He almost got eaten by that big alligator turtle dinosaur thing in the first episode. Grogu fucks him up, and now this raptor thing takes him away, almost gets everybody killed. So I'm kind of out on Ragnar. I think he's going to be a protagonist to Grogu in the future, but I guess they got to wear their helmets, right? There's no taking the helmets off.
There's no taking the helmets off, at least for this clan. No. And who knows, maybe it enhances things for them. I mean, Din's got heat sensors and other sensors going on, so they probably get different types of visuals wearing the helmet than people who don't wear the helmet.
Oh man, see now I feel bad for these people, because they're probably they got pictures up inside, they got videos going of other people. That's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Well, maybe it helps.
All right, one more question for you, and this is related to something that happened in the episode. But would you endure the years of Jar Jar Binks hatred that Ahmed Best did if you get to save Grogu?
That's a great question because we're not just talking years, like decades, right?
It is decades, yeah. I mean, it's like almost 30 years.
Yeah. Only if I got to continue playing a Jedi. Like, if it's just this amount of screen time, then no, I don't think I would. But if Ahmed Best continues to reoccur in Grogu's flashbacks, then yes, I think I would be okay. I mean, it's a great scene. It's a fantastic scene. And he does some pretty cool Jedi stuff.
I agree. Let's get into that because I think that this is the side plot of the story, but really a great flashback. And I think let's start by level setting on all of this. So like Grogu gets the clone troopers are coming after Grogu. He's obviously very protected by the Jedi. There are like multiple Jedi trying to save him. They must have had some plan to get him out, which way to get him out, because they knew where Keller and Beck was. They sent him in the elevator to Keller and Beck. Now, who is Keller and Beck? You might be asking yourself, why does Chorizy even know this guy's name? Because they only, in passing, say, get him to Kelleran. So, obviously, he's played by Ahmed Best, who was Jar Jar Binks in the original film. So, like, the person who is doing the actual movements, I know it's a CGI character, but it's all motion capture. He did an incredible job of physical acting in those movies. Like Jar Jar Binks or not. I do not like Jar Jar Binks. I think it was a terrible character.
What?
Yeah, you're shocked. I know you're shocked. But he did a very good job. Ahmed Best did a very good job, and he's taken a lot of shit for it over the years, which he should not. They gave him a small part in one of the other prequel movies. However, what's interesting is in 2020, I think early 2020, they released a TV show for Star Wars. It was like a trivia type. It's almost like a double dare for Jedis, for kids. And Ahmed Best hosted it as Keller and Beck, and they kind of said, do with this character whatever the hell you want. You know, we've put you through enough in your lifetime. Just be whoever you want. And he kind of developed his backstory for him. And one of the interesting things about Keller and Beck is that, well, two interesting things. One, he was called. Oh man, I'm gonna blow the name of his. It was like the. Give me 1 second, because he had a great nickname. And it's something about it's lightsaber related, which is the interesting part. And I've lost it. But anyways, he's supposed to be fantastic with lightsabers. This is something that he's known for in this show. And so you see it when he does the dual lightsabers and saves Grogu. But the other thing, and maybe the more important thing to this show, if they're going to continue these flashbacks, is that he is one of the first Jedi to dedicate himself solely to the teaching of Padawans. So he didn't really do anything else. That was his sole purpose as a Jedi. So my question to you, Josh, is how long do you think Grogu is with Beck? And will Grogu start to remember more and more of his teachings if they were together for a significant time?
So the first part, I don't know. And I didn't know that if Ahmed Best was going to have a greater role with the Mandalorian than expected. I was not expecting to see him as soon as the doors opened. And then he looked familiar. Like, I don't remember him as a character, but then reading reviews, people are like, oh, did you guys enjoy Jar Jar Binks? And then the memes started coming in. And it's like, okay, light bulb went off. Yeah, this is the guy who played Jar Jar. So I don't know how many more scenes we're going to have. I think it could be very helpful. Because, again, we talked about this in last week's episode, that the Mandalorian, I'm starting to believe, is the story of Grogu, who eventually becomes the Mandalorian. And there are pieces of Grogu's backstory that we still need to figure out. we understand now how he got off Coruscant, but we don't know what happened after Coruscant, and we don't know how he got to where he was when Din meets him in the very first episode of this series. So we still need a lot of patching going on in the backstory. So maybe we'll get more. I hope we do get more. On the second part, I have to assume that as soon as he regains his memory, that he's going to regain some skills. And I think what they're doing here, on a narrative standpoint, again, we've been talking about this for years, correcting what happened in Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. In that, if you have someone that is very sensitive to the Force, or maybe had some undeveloped skills, that suddenly they can recall or remember and how to use those skills. And it has happened over time, especially for younglings or foundlings that had to escape Order 66 as they get older. They start remembering on how to use some of their Jedi power. I believe in the video game, it's Cal that starts to remember on how to use some of the Force and develop a stronger connection to the Force. So I think the second part is a really interesting question that you asked, Chorizy, because as we get further along in the show, I'm hoping that we're going to see Grogu start remembering some of his early teachings, because he was not with Luke Skywalker for a long time.
Right. And I think part of it is, and I love this comment, the Mandalorian is the backstory of Grogu's rise to power.
Yeah.
It could be. We'll get into that later.
He runs the First Order.
We'll get into that later. But I think we saw it in the Kenobi series too, right? So Kenobi had shut himself off from the Force, and when he allowed himself to reconnect with the Force, then the skills started to come back slowly, until he was powerful enough to face Vader again. And so Grogu is still shutting himself off to the Force, and we see that in the beginning of the episode when he's going to fight Ragnar. He does not show his skills. He has spent years hiding the fact that he is Force sensitive for his own protection, much the way that Caleb Dune, Kanan Jarrus did. Yep. And it takes a while for them to kind of regain everything. So I think now if he feels comfortable on the island with them, or the dinosaur planet or whatever it is, that he's going to start connecting to the Force again, and he's going to start to remember things and to start. And I think the moment in the Forge kind of exemplifies that. Like, this is okay. He's starting to let the Force back in after that fight, and now he's starting to see what happened. He's starting to remember what happened. What's interesting, Josh, and I didn't catch this, but I saw this. I saw someone talking about this. Is the Forge scene mimics a Forge scene in the earlier episodes of The Mandalorian, where Din remembers what happened to him as a child when he was rescued. So kind of cool. I think that's a good callback, but I also think it lends a little bit to the mysticism of the way, and we'll get into that later. But before we get into that, I want to ask you a little bit of a theoretical question here on Grogu's rescue. We've got the Senate guard who's helping to get him out, in Naboo armor and in a Naboo ship, and the senator from Naboo at the time, Jar Jar Binks, and obviously the character who played Jar Jar Binks is rescuing him. Do you think that Jar Jar Binks was involved in getting some of the younglings off world? And do you think it's possible that he is either the creator or one of the creators of the path?
Ooh, that's interesting, because the underwater world is a great place to hide someone that you need to hide. Ooh, I kind of like that. And I imagine if Padme discovered that there was something gone wrong in Order 66, maybe she would have reached out to Jar Jar if he was still the senator for Naboo. Ooh, okay. I don't have a lot of great thought in this theory, but the more that I think about it, I kind of like it. So do you have more to support this this conspiracy theory?
Well, the only things we know right now about the path are that Quinlan Voss is involved, which doesn't connect to Jar Jar.
That we know, yeah.
Right now, we don't have any connection between them. But what we do know is that there was time between Padme leaving to go find Anakin and her getting to Mustafar. So if she was going to contact someone and someone she trusted, there's a small list of people, right? Like there's not a lot of people that she would have trusted at that point. So it's very possible that Jar Jar was on that short list and could have been the person that she reached out to, or Gungan that she reached out to, I should say. The other thing is Jar Jar in the books, in the Aftermath books, is still alive. And he's also considered like almost, I don't want to say a clown, but he is there to entertain the children. He is that's the role that he's taken in his life. And so it's possible that that's from many years of shepherding children out of harm's way, especially Force sensitive children.
Interesting.
And like it just feels like we're trying to get a Jar Jar redemption here. Like it's just like they're really trying hard to redeem him. So if he's involved in that, now I don't really want to see much of it. If we're gonna talk about that,
You want to see Ahmed Best act alongside Jar Jar?
Like when we're talking about like almost like an Underground Railroad situation, I don't need a comic relief goofy ass character to be a part of it, but I appreciate if they're gonna give him a little credit on it. But all right,
okay. I don't think it's Padme though. I know that was
no, it's almost impossible for it to be her, because like
as far as the timing goes,
yeah, she's when this is happening, she is hours away from death. So there's not enough time for that to happen. And a lot of the other characters are scrambling at this point. And we know kind of most of the important players, we know where they are during Order 66.
Yeah, and it's not Senator Organa. I think the timing would be suspiciously close because he arrives at the Jedi Temple to see what's going on because it's in flames.
Yes.
And he's pushed back by the troops.
And then his next steps are getting Yoda and Obi-Wan, and the children out of there. So he's got his own kind of thing. And they obviously are unaware of the path because Obi-Wan had no idea about it. Mm-hmm. So like it is happening somewhere else. So, it could be a thing like the underwater part of Naboo is where they first go. Who knows? So we'll see though. I'm interested to see what else they bring forth on Grogu's past. But let's look at the present for a minute, and let's look at a particular character, which is Bo-Katan. I did get a kick out of this scene because this was very reminiscent of Star Wars, like the original trilogy, when she's telling them, "Hey, this peak is no higher than where we used to train for basic training." Similar to Luke Skywalker with the, I used to shoot womp rats from this height, like, so I liked that parallel, but it also shows something here that she is kind of more advanced in tactics than anybody here. There's a lot of unexperienced people. But the first question I want to ask you about Bo is, has every episode title actually been about her? So I'll give you the titles. It's The Apostate is the first one. The Mines of Mandalore is the second. The Convert is the third. And The Foundling is the fourth. Are we just giving titles and giving a different kind of storyline to make you think it's somebody else, but it's truly every episode has been about Bo-Katan's journey?
The third episode definitely, I think, is about Bo-Katan. How do you think the Foundling refers to Bo-Katan? Because that's the one that I'm having trouble with.
So Din basically rescues her, right? So she is not of their order. She comes into their order. She's a foundling, and how do you rise in the ranks? You have to prove yourself. And this is her proving herself to get away from that title of just being a foundling that they're taking care of. When this starts, they're saving her. You know, she has no place to go, and this is her only refuge. Now she's showing herself as a leader, which is hilarious, would rise her to the rank of apprentice, even though she used to rule Mandalore. But I think, you know, in terms of this covert, you know, I think that this could be her going from foundling to a true member of the covert.
So, do we have any clues of what the next episode title is?
I don't know what the next episode title is.
Because Carl Weathers spilled the beans. Like, we knew what it was because he got too excited and he spilled the beans on Twitter. Love it.
We need him to direct more so that we get a little bit of advance notice of what's going on.
Yeah. If the next episode title is The Apprentice, then I'm buying what you are selling. But right now, I don't know. That the Foundling, I think, is a bit of a stretch. I do think that there are certain, like the Apostate, I do think is about Din. The Mines of Mandalore may not refer to anyone, just the event, which obviously would involve both Din and Bo-Katan. I think the Foundling is still about Grogu.
Okay.
And I thought that when Carl Weathers mentioned that the title is The Foundling, I thought this is going to be a very heavy Grogu episode. This should make a lot of people happy that want to see Baby Yoda. And hopefully they are happy because it is a lot of Grogu in this episode. So I don't know if I'm that far yet, but if the next episode is The Apprentice, then I will be buying what you are selling, Chorizy.
What if the next episode's the Darksaber?
That works too.
Okay.
If we get a backstory about how Bo-Katan loses a Darksaber, then all of a sudden in episode 5, what we thought was going to be Din's quest of going to Mandalore, which was completed by episode 2, then we're going to find out that, this season might be more about Bo-Katan than it is about Din.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's feeling right now to me. And I think she leads the war party here. She's learning their customs. Do you think she ends up leading this covert?
I don't know if she leads the covert, but she's got to be like their war leader. Like when they go on missions and stuff, she might be the one leading it. The Armorer, we've seen the Armorer fight once, and that was to escape Navarro.
She can kick ass. The Armorer could kick ass. We know that.
Yes, the Armorer hasn't fought since then. So if they're going to be doing any missions or anything like this, I think it's going to be Bo-Katan. And this is where she can rebuild a fighting squad that she once had with the Night Owls. Or maybe they cross paths with the Night Owls and she helps grow the covert.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think, you know, the Armorer is more the religious leader of the group. You know, if I'm
the spirit of being a Mandalorian, yeah,
right. The spiritual leader is a good term there, and like they need an actual leader, right? Like, and we've thought for a while that it's going to be Din. Din has the Darksaber. Din exemplifies the way. Maybe it is going to be Bo. Maybe Bo's going to kind of take over, which could lead to a lot of resentment all across the board, which is I think that would make for some great episodes. We haven't had a internal conflict too much with the Mandalorians, nor have we had really a big bad yet. So we're still searching for those things. So we'll see what comes of that. I think one thing I want to talk about though, really quickly, Josh, in this episode is like they bring back Ragnar, but they also bring back the raptor like babies, let's call them. They're gonna ride those? Are they gonna train and ride those things?
I hope so. I thought about that a lot because then the raptor gets eaten by the alligator, and I'm sure there's a different term for that. And I'm thinking, Well, this is kind of sad because those 3 babies are going to die at the nest. Mama got killed. They're going to die. I have no idea how they got them out of the nest. I don't need to see that, but I have no idea how they got them out of the nest.
Or fit them in the ship.
Bo's ship is bigger than I thought. So we have ship scaling issues still at Star Wars. The only ship that they ever scale properly is the Star Destroyer, it seems like. So her ship is absolutely huge. I hope they do ride them, because that'd be pretty awesome. Just to have Mandalorians ride these raptors.
So honestly, something we were Quarantine and I were saying was like it does kind of make us think of Game of Thrones a little bit, and like my thought here is that much like that, I think a lot of people that would watch this Star Wars stuff have watched Game of Thrones as well, and it wouldn't be that foreign of a concept to kind of say that there needs to be a connection between the rider and the raptor, right? And so could we see like some of the kids trying to connect with these things, trying to ride them, and Grogu having the connection with the animals that he does throughout, which is mentioned in the beginning, right? Like he's sitting there with what appear to be stones, but he realizes that these are all delicious crabs that he was probably going to eat. But he does have a connection to animals. He calmed the Rancor, right? Could he calm these things? Could he ride one of these things eventually? Like Grogu on a raptor
would be awesome.
I need it. I just need it.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So one thing I just looked up, because we're trying to guess for the next episode. Peter Ramsey is the director for the next episode. This is going to be the first live action thing that Peter Ramsey's ever directed.
Okay, what has he done before?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, interesting. That's a heavy one to be on your resume. I'll tell you that much.
He did Rise of the Guardians. I take that. He did We the People. I don't know if that's animated or not. Okay. And then Lost Ollie, which is a TV miniseries. So he's going to be directing the next episode of The Mandalorian, but everybody knows him for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is a phenomenal movie.
Probably one of the best coming-of-age movies that we've seen since the original Star Wars trilogy.
So on that point, who could be coming to age? So if you're bringing Peter Ramsey to tell that part of the story, then maybe we get Grogu working with the baby raptors in the next episode.
And against the other children, right? Like I think the children will have some resentment towards Grogu.
Yeah.
His powers are way different than theirs. Like if they challenge him to a physical match, they won't get 2 feet from him before he blasts them back with the Force, right? And I think we were all a little worried about this when we started to watch, like, oh, these two are going to fight. Grogu's going to fight. And we know that one of Grogu's moves is choke you to death.
Yes.
So, I was really worried about that. So, luckily, that didn't happen. But who knows? Who knows who he might just decide, you know what, this is getting a little testy. I need to just grab your windpipe for a second and see what happens. So, there's going to be tension, I think, between the children of the Watch and Grogu. So maybe he's the right director to handle that.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty fascinating. But yeah, with the Raptors, I mean, if you can fly them, and if suddenly, let's say, TIE interceptors come by, you could use the Raptors to attack the TIE interceptors, and that'd be pretty cool.
I love this comment. I just realized I walked the same way as Grogu when coming out of Corks. We all do.
The one leg only moves, and you're kind of just shifting in the sand. I like Yumpers. Will Grogu put his hands up like Chris Pratt when he works with the baby raptors? I don't think Grogu's going to use clicker training like you do with dogs on the raptors.
I think he is going to touch one of their faces, and then that thing's going to be like, jump on. We're gonna go for a ride.
Yeah, we are now friends,
and we're gonna go eat some baby dinosaur turtles because f them for eating my mom.
Yep. Nice.
So let's talk about one more thing on the Bo-Katan front, and this I think is significant. The conversation between Bo and the armorer at the end. Again, we're feeling like they're coming together. They're bonding. They have some kind of connection. I'm concerned about if that is truly a connection or if they're just kind of feeling each other out to see which one of them is going to be in control of this group moving forward.
Yeah, I don't have a good sense of feeling of what's going on in the interactions. Like, the show is portraying that the armor is aware of who Bo-Katan is, but doesn't know who Bo-Katan is as an individual. Really stuck with the way, really stuck in the ways, the old ways of the Mandalorian religion. So she still is like in preacher mode. Even though when Bo-Katan brings up, what if I told you I saw a mythosaur? And at first it's like, well, you are very lucky to have that type of vision. And no, a real one. And then you just get well, you're still lucky. This is the way.
It's like if you follow the way of the Mandalore, you will see many things, which is like, well, I didn't know they were doing those lizards that that they had on Tatooine. But
they must have some on their new planet that they're on.
So do you think though, with this, that Bo is actually starting to trust the armorer?
Does Bo trust anyone? Does she trust Din? I think she must trust Din. But that's a good question. I don't know.
She trusts Din.
I think Bo is open to trusting the armorer because the armorer has welcomed Bo in. Let's put it that way. Like, and I think she's giving the armorer a chance.
And is that going to bite her?
Well, they are Mandalorians, so the answer is yes, eventually.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking of Bo-Katan in Death Watch, right? Like, and it was interesting. It was an interesting choice that it was Paz Vizsla's kid, and that the Shriek-Hawks went with her. That is Death Watch, right? That is the Shriek-Hawk. If you're unfamiliar, when you saw Din getting rescued, and you saw like the three like kind of like look like almost like scrape marks. Is claw marks of the Shriek-Hawk, and it actually looks like a Shriek-Hawk. That's who went with, and those are the people kind of original to Death Watch, people that Bo eventually turned against because she did not think that they were doing the right things, and they kind of tried to kill her sister. So I think it's interesting the way that they're posing this, and like, how much history is Bo carrying with her? Like, I'll act like I trust you guys, but I'm not down with you guys. I'm not actually a fan of what's going on here.
That might come up, yeah. It probably will come up because, again, the reason why I say eventually does is because they are Mandalorians. Mandalorians are known to fight one another. They're not known to be peaceful clans or tribes for a long time. They're not known to be that. So eventually there's going to be some type of conflict. How they handle that conflict, we'll see. Like, Din is kind of giving off this impression, to me at least, that he might be the most peaceful Mandalorian we came across.
Which is funny because of how the show starts, right? I mean, like, his journey, he's just like, you know what he is? He's that guy that you used to know who was just like a wild partier. Just like, oh, this guy stay out till 2 a.m. every night, all week. Still go to work and just smell like booze all day. That guy then has a kid, and he's like, you never see him again. He's just like perfect dad after that. And I think Din is going through that right now. Din is definitely, you see it when he gets back from saving Ragnar he immediately goes and picks up Grogu. Like that's his first move. Like he gets off the ship and he's like, "Where's my son?" You know, and that also like I mean I joked about the boning earlier, but like it could be that Paz is not actually Ragnar's biological father, but he has just taken him in as a son. You know, so like there's a lot of that going on. Josh, I think we're about to see a lot of crazy shit go on with the Mandalorians. I don't know if they're going to come together and start to grow back and eventually go back to Mandalore, pit stop at Navarro to help out Carl Weathers, who, by the way, big shout to Carl Weathers for this episode.
Yeah,
it was
this
a great
was fun.
episode.
This was a great
episode.
episode.
Really got a good stew going. I'll tell you that much.
He does.
And, and so I think that they're building towards something. I'm interested to see what it is. Now, Josh, I heard this theory, and the theory doesn't seem founded in a lot of information. I think people are searching for a reason why Elia Kane did what she did to Dr. Pershing. Why she would be so interested in this guy who was working with clones and doing all this stuff. And this theory came up. It is wild.
Okay.
But I want to throw it at you.
Now,
is Elia Kane a grown-up Omega?
What would have happened? See, I'm not completely
Something
caught up
horrible.
in Bad Batch, but something must have terribly happened for Omega to join the Empire.
Right. I mean, like there'd be some kind of like horrible incident that she decided this is where I'm going. Like so it's unclear. It's unclear. I think though, to me, like I looked at this theory and I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea. Like I don't think anybody would enjoy that. But I do kind of like the idea of Elia Kane being a Strandcast or clone of Jango Fett. I think she's got the look where you would be convinced, okay, this could be a relative of Tamara Morrison, right? Like so in that case, would she have a lot of ire against a guy who's devoted his life to a
Cloning.
weird part of cloning where like the clone is basically killed almost every time, right? Like they're just testing on, like imagine being a sentient, like species that like they just like torture, right? Like you might have a lot of anger towards a guy like Dr. Pershing, who in all I could tell, Dr. Pershing really kind of thinks in his mind that he's doing the right thing. He's not, but he thinks so. And so could she actually not be working for Gideon and really just be trying to exact revenge for her brothers and sisters that are clones?
That part's not as far-fetched. And that would be kind of fascinating if she is a clone. But man, she has survived a long time. Or someone's still cloning people.
That's where I'm going here. That's where I'm going. Like we have seen in the Bad Batch, and I apologize, Bad Batch spoilers for those of you who are not caught up, but into this season we start to see that while they destroyed all the cloning facilities in the end of season 2, that's season 2 or is that
season 1?
Forget. Season 1. Okay, this is only season 2. Man, my brain is fried. So at the end of season 1, they destroy all the cloning facilities. But in season 2, we see that there's like a Dr. Mengele type motherfucker that is now in charge of the cloning process. And they have a few Kaminoans still alive that they're trying to force into doing cloning. We get the introduction of Emery Carr, who appears to be a very similar clone to Omega, running the facility. I'm not sure if that's what it's supposed to be, but like she sounds a lot like her. It's not the same voice actor, but it sounds a lot like Omega. So like, I feel like we're very much being told in the cartoons that cloning is alive and well in the Empire. We know that there's clones of Emperor Palpatine because they brought him back somehow. But the cloning is still going on. So, like, did it extend this far? And is that why Elia Kane was like, I need to know what this guy was up to? And then also I want to fry his brain.
We know that there's a second Clone War. We do know that happens. So I will not completely dismiss that second part of the theory. I will dismiss that she is Omega. I don't think that scans. But is she a clone? I will not rule that out.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. And you think, too, like, when they were talking about the Dark Troopers, right? Like, the human was the last flaw, according to Pershing. So Pershing, like, I'm going to assume they were putting clones in those things, right? Like, so it's very possible that Pershing was like, again, phasing clones out, right? Just the way that you see it in the Bad Batch is happening. So I don't know. I feel like there might be something very interesting with Elia Kane, and I'm almost wondering if we could see Elia Kane not have a redemption arc, but at least do something helpful in the future, just based on her background. If my, if it's not my theory, if this wild theory is true.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be interested. Maybe we'll get more in this season.
We shall see. We shall see. I'm interested in kind of everywhere that this is going to go. There's a lot of craziness going on right now. We still don't have a big bad. We're halfway through the season, Josh, and we have no idea who the bad guy is.
I think we will. I think, here's my prediction. My prediction is we get Moff Gideon next episode.
I can't wait. It would be lovely if they, if they go with the Darksaber route, we get Moff Gideon and we see the backstory, as you mentioned. We see the backstory of him getting the Darksaber from Bo-Katan. Could be a wild ride. I'm here for it. And we will be back next week to do that. There's a lot going on this week, everyone. So just keep in mind, we got the 108 tourney starting back up on Monday. On Thursday, for the opener against Houston, in Houston, we'll be doing the Sox Machine playback. So it'll be Sox Machine plus from the 108, live doing the game so that you do not have to listen to the ESPN call. You know why? Because the ESPN call is going to suck. So don't listen to that. Listen to us. We're going to suck less than Roger Clemens. It's not a high bar, but we're going to do it. So we will see you then. I can't wait to get into the park on April 3rd and press the flesh with all you again. And we're going to talk baseball. We're going to talk Star Wars. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will see you then. Until then, bye, everyone.